now have a shift and actually invite the real humans up to our Socratic discussion circle. So Mike, if we can bring you up, Louise and Steve.
Thank you.
And we have David.
Thank you very
as
much.
our real life human who is online right here, who is the person who made our avatars. And some of you may want to ask questions too as we're going.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
I knew that was going to.
Question.
Okay, so we're going to start off with the question that's up on the screen to our three humans here, our human presenters. What did it feel like watching your own digital twin and listening to either what you said or what it reinvented for you? So why don't we start with Louise, and then we'll go around to Steve, and then Mike, and then David. Any comments that you have will pop in as well.
It's quite scary, but my hair looked lovely. Skin looks nice, but it was a bit weird. And hearing what I'd written was quite acceptable. But then when I started to talk a load of waffle because I wasn't real, I got a little bit bored of myself, to be honest. But I think it was, yeah, bravo, David. Thank you.
All right, Steve, what do you think?
It's strange to hear something like me saying it, sounded like me saying it, but I knew I didn't say it. That was the odd one. How easy and how simple that is to do, to generate something fake. Even the image of me, it's been modified from the original image that I provided.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's quite unnerving. I see myself in the image, and I also don't. But what I hear when it's modified or generated, I don't hear me. It makes me slightly uncomfortable. It makes me a little angry. I didn't say that. I was ready to scream out. I didn't say that. That's how it makes me feel. It's interesting for, I know at the moment there are some issues around, some issues for journalists. It's an example from the BBC where journalists are being AI generated and their content is being AI generated and is being pushed into the public domain. I mean, this is anything new, but in journalism, that can have a detrimental effect. So yeah, it made me angry, made me feel awkward. I was ready to defend myself, say, no, that's not me. I didn't say that. I said, I might have said something similar, but I didn't say it like that. Those kinds of things.
Okay,
So
context,
a little
yeah.
defensive, a little angry, a little nervous about the simplicity, ease of which that is to do, which I'm sure some of you know already. Thank you.
All right, now interesting. So trust, I think, is a word that I heard in the script somewhere. That's an element of this. Yeah,
I wrote
yeah.
a lot about trust.
Yeah, interesting.
Scripts.
Okay.
Trust is eating away at the
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah.
The concept of trust, one of the most concepts to explain what trust is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All right. Well, we'll come back to that with the questions and answers in a moment. Let's finish off with Mike, who's restraining himself here.
And then couldn't I be really improved? You know, I mean, just with a little less hair. You know, I mean, it's really sort of powerful. But as far as I'm concerned, the only bit that I actually wrote was the first bit, first sentence, the first thing, the very first introduction. And yes. That is where I'm not going to immediately transcribe everything and start getting the people and getting the lawyer, because I have the satisfaction of that very first piece is what I was taught as a BBC producer, is the kind of language that you use when you're talking to people, either on the radio or on video. So I'm okay. I'm comfortable. You know, I mean, I'm not going to run out screaming. I'm just going to sit here with I don't know what Dave is going to tell us. So I had a follow-up comment. I think it's interesting around sanitizing content. BBC have been doing it for years. You can change, you can change the content in any historic TV program. You change a word, you can dub over something, you can modify, you can edit. We've been sanitizing always. Sanitizing, even in the edit school, there's a sanitization of what was said and done in a situation, if you put it like that. But to hear myself speak something that's 100% not what I said, there's a line somewhere that's being crossed there. You know, modifying something. I'm always under modification. I don't speak in the simplest of sentences, and I understand that. But to have my entire script torn apart, rewritten in a way that I wouldn't naturally say, that was more difficult for me than the occasional word or the occasional sentence or editing a sentence out. So I think it's interesting about how we sanitize content. And if you're going to ask an AI to improve something or sanitize something you've said, how far do you want it to go?
Okay.
Before it becomes not you. I mean,
We're gonna. Sorry, Mike. I'm just gonna jump in with David because we've got his microphone on now, and then we'll come back to the human presenters, but also we've got some people, Paul, for example, in the online audience as well that might have some questions and comments. But David, go ahead and jump in here. You created these. Well, I don't know, Mike's soul grabbing avatars. What comments do you have?
Well, I apologize if I've offended anyone by what I did, but that wasn't the sole purpose. But it's important to make that point because deepfake is quite a serious issue now, and as you've seen, that the digital twins are quite realistic, and they're not the actual photographs that I was supplied, and most of what I did, in fact, all of what I did could have been done on my smartphone. So I didn't need a powerful computer. I just needed my smartphone to alter the appearance or costume of the presenters. I used ChatGPT to process their words in a different way, and I chose to do it two ways. One is by asking AI or ChatGPT to rewrite the text that the participant had supplied me in a different style. And so all the bits of text that you've seen and all the bits of text that you've listened to were not all generated in the same style. So, for example, I think it's interesting that on topic 2, that there was more of an equal division on people who thought, who got it right and got it wrong. And that I think is because when I think it's Louise's text, and by the way, I only chose one piece of text from each of the speakers. Each of the speakers gave me 3 bits of text, but to be fair, I had to choose one piece of text from each person. And in the second topic, which was basically what I think what Mike wrote about making language really clear and not relying on ChatGPT, I asked the AI modified version of the text to write it in the style of an English teacher. So that is possibly why there was some sort of it was not so obvious. In the last example, there were 2 different styles. I think one of them was in the style of a politician who hated AI, and the other one was in the style of a religious leader. So I adopted different approaches, but it is worrying how realistic you can make these things and how these technologies can be abused very easily. And I have to confess, I practice using ChatGPT to write some copy for a book. I've no intention of publishing it at the moment, but I've been writing a science fiction book about a future time where the human planet was really non-sustainable. People could live forever. The technology may effectively enable you to be able to live forever, but the planet couldn't support it. So it was decided that on your 100th birthday, everyone would be put to sleep and they would be turned into an avatar. But in the last day of their life, they would relive their whole life in 24 hours, and that could be shared with anybody online using the same technology. And at the end of the 24 hours, when they're put to sleep, everybody would have a vote on the love of their life, and they would spend eternity as an avatar in this virtual world with the love of their life, chosen partly by them, partly by the audience. So that was the tenet of the story, and I started writing it a few years ago, but I decided to get ChatGPT to write it from scratch. So I gave the outline of the story as I've given now, and I asked it initially to write in the style of Arthur C. Clarke. And then I asked it to write in the style of other writers. And it was what ChatGPT wrote for me was far better than I could ever write, and that was a sad thing for me. And that's why I think it is, very easy to be tempted.
Yeah.
Very worried about the impact of ChatGPT on human creativity.
Yeah, absolutely, David. David, we're going to get some questions and answers from the live audience, the real humans in the room here, hopefully in the next part of our Q&A. Let me just switch back if you don't mind. And of course, Philip, anyone who's at home online, we're inviting you to put your video up. You can put your comments in the text chat if you don't want to say it. Otherwise, just like we did with David, we can put your microphones and sound on. But we're just going to finish off here very quickly, David, to say that the last part of our workshop now, we are going to be giving out some prizes from our partnership here with Klexum. But the way in order to get them, we're going to have the survey. So Sam, I think you've got the online survey booted up. Is that right?
Yeah, so the survey can be found in the board that we were just doing our voting on. I will pop that front and center for you all now.
Okay.
But you can also access that through the link that I have dropped into Teams just in case.
Okay, so in Teams text chat, you can do the survey. Some really nice prizes, people were really, and by the way, this is not just the presentation and workshop, but it's actually going to be an experiment that we're going to take the data from you that you've put into the surveys. We're going to take the recordings, the transcripts. We're going to be reviewing this model that we've done for the new Turing test and this kind of Socratic discussion approach, and then writing it up and publishing it. So people that are interested in getting involved with that, join in with us. We've got the contact information in the next slide. But please do take a moment to do your voting and your feedback on the survey. And here's my email address if you have not had it yet. And let's see here. There we go. And I think we've just got a couple minutes left for Q&A, but before we get into questions and comments from the face-to-face audience or people online.
Congratulations to Professor Skip Basil and his team for a great session.
Now, some of you know this gentleman, Nan. He told me he was going to be here today.
Very just.
Yeah, because, well, but this is the fake Nan who David put together to say this. So we were hoping he was going to be here and we'd be able to surprise him that, he was part of the presentation. But I'm sure he'll see the recording and get a little laugh out of that. Anyway, we're going to go now. We'll do the stop the sharing. It looks like Philip, it looks like we've got you in the screen. Do we have a question or a comment from you? Because if it's thumbs up, we can make sure we get your microphone if it's not already on. Is your microphone going? I can't quite tell. Philip, no? I'm going to make you a presenter then. Oh, you did it. Oh, thanks. Okay.
Yeah, so you should be able to unmute now, Philip.
Oops. Maybe I put him back.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Go ahead.
Yes, good. Okay, so
I don't know if you want to do an intro, Philip, so people know who you are or something.
yes, okay. I'm I suppose think of myself as a techno-social sense maker. I'm very intrigued by the way that society and human relationships adapt to technology and technological progress. That I think is really the outcome of developing the digital acumen courses that you can see on my screen, the logo you can see on my screen, along with Mark Woodman. I was very intrigued by the process. I think that there were some clarifications that need to be made to enhance it.
It's a pilot, Philip. This is our first go.
So I can give some feedback of that nature, perhaps. So understanding it's a pilot, I did miss a little bit of the sound at the beginning of this session, so forgive me if there was an explanation that I didn't hear. But the first piece was I didn't know how many of the presentations might be considered human. So there wasn't a choice of all or two or none that I could have made.
Before you go on, Philip, sorry, David, would you like to respond to that? Because we had a discussion about that very issue, Philip, whether it should be just one human or make the randomizations to reduce the chance of, just the chance that you voted for the right human. So David, do you want to say anything about that?
Yes, it was my understanding actually that you would be able to choose 1, 2, or all 3. That was my understanding of the way that it was going to work. But the thing that there are many things I would have changed in retrospect. And originally the idea was that we would have 3 human presentations in each session. And so I could choose whether I made one of those or 2 of those AI generated or none of those AI generated, so that it was much more randomized, and when people voted, they could, as you say, choose 1, 2, or all of them. I had assumed that today, when you were doing the quiz, that you would have a choice of 1, 2, or 3, rather than just having to choose 1 out of them.
Yeah. Maybe Philip, that was my bad, that not really explain it very clearly. Go ahead with your other points, though, Philip. Go ahead.
I had a second piece, which was that I found the topic of AI, being the topic of presentation, to be potentially biasing. So if it had been a topic that wasn't about AI, then the actual content of what was being presented would not have been biasing to the same degree. So if we wanted to, run something that was like a Turing test, maybe a discussion about growing vegetables might be a better choice. And so, for example, if the content was very negative to AI and critical of it, or techno-reactionary about it. I've felt that sort of could have biased me to say, oh, it's probably human then. Although it would be perfectly possible to get an AI to write in that way, there was the possibility of bias.
Yeah, yeah.
I think as well, the third piece was, although I was very impressed by the avatars, they were of variable quality. And I found myself, at least initially, being influenced by the avatars themselves, rather than listening to the scripts and trying to differentiate between them. So I think that was so I understand that.
So, sorry, Philip, I'm just going to jump in for a second because I'd like to get maybe an old-fashioned show of hands of the audience to see if anyone else agrees with Philip that the quality of the avatar. I'm seeing some head nods. Hands up if you thought that it was an influence. Yeah, it looks like about maybe. Oh, actually, it's turning into a majority are agreeing with you now, Philip. So that's an interesting point. And David, a tribute to you. It looks like Steve is going to jump in. Go ahead.
So there's your experience, your life, the context of this room, the avatars, the way they look, the way they sound, the content itself. How do you judge this? Something to think about.
Yeah.
Or where someone might be on the scale of humanity.
It'd be really for us to judge because, like you said, what some of the script wasn't what we actually wrote, so we knew that this was being created by AI. So for us, it was quite easy. But the language and the words and we've used that were not my words, and I wouldn't use words like that either. So I know who I am. And we know each other, but the strangers, I think it's a bit.
I mean, the finish point is interesting because every day you have to make a judgment about people in front of you. How human are, you know? You just constantly making judgments about them. And those people are constantly trying to influence each other. So the quality of the avatar could be deliberate in order to influence you a certain way.
Okay, interesting points. Philip, if you don't mind, we're going to jump out to the audience, the face-to-face audience here for any questions or comments that they might have, and hopefully they will. So we'll open it up in the back, okay? Okay, all right. Did seeing the real people have any impact on you? Because I don't know if you were aware that they were actually sitting here. Did you know that these were the real presenters? No, some people didn't notice you. Oh, see, I was hoping that. That's why I said sit in the back of the room, be quiet, you know. And here are the real life people.
We have through our senses and how we make sense of a contextual environment and maybe bring on the line of what is consciousness, what is it not, how do we define the principles of that, what is the role of humans in reality, construct of reality, and how we make sense of that every day. Whether or not how disrupt it, alter it. I mean, and the digitalization of us, the avatar aspect related to us, becomes in distorting or managing or modifying or improving or enhancing our experience of reality. I think it's a great observation. It's got me thinking now. Oof. An academic paper coming up.
We're almost out of time because we've only got a 1 hour slot. And yeah, I was just going to say, are there any other comments people want to throw out to the group? Oh no, okay, nothing else. Yeah, go ahead.
The difference I'm used to, this is a lot of English, but it's like, yeah, I'm not grammar expert. We would be hard.
Yeah, this is
Such as verbs or some things, it's like, it's so super specific that like, if it would be like, oh, how do you make tea? Or how do you
Yeah.
drink a coffee? Or how, what do you do on the weekend?
Okay,
It'd be
yeah.
much more, like, more easier to think.
Mm.
Yeah, it's interesting about the cultural relevance to the experience, to being able to determine if someone is human. I mean, maybe a future experiment here is to have robots that look. I mean, robots can pass for human quite easily when we're not paying attention to them. That's it's how we utilize robotics, AI-driven robots. Maybe I'm here, maybe Louise is an AI-driven robot, and we don't know. And how we determine whether or not someone is.
We're getting asked by the people online to speak up. If you're having questions or comments, speak up a little bit louder, please. So what we'll do is we'll finish off here then to thank David and our presenters for doing such a great job. And last but not least, we're going to thank Sam because and the people who've done the survey, because we've got some prizes for you somewhere. And
Wow, we go home with a robot.
and do we have the names or do we know? No.
Well, I mean, so we've
Okay,
already had a
it-
few completions. So anyone that
If you did the survey, come on up and then Sam's going to give you the prize. But otherwise, thank you, the audience,
Yeah,
as
thanks
well.
for coming.
Online, Philip and et al. And humans in the room.
Yeah.
Thank you for participating in our workshop. We hope that you enjoyed it, and please do contact us if you want to collaborate.
I hope it stimulates your thinking, the direction, whatever disciplines.